September 24, 1877. Shiroyama Hill, Japan. 500 samurai. Swords. Centuries of tradition. 30,000 soldiers. Rifles. Artillery. The modern age. This is the end of an era. For 7 centuries, the samurai stood at the heart of Japan. Warriors, scholars, and bureaucrats. They shaped the laws, guarded the land, and lived by a code older than memory. Bushido, honor above life, loyalty above comfort, discipline above all. In villages and great castles, these men wore their swords as both weapon and soul. The katana was not just steel, it was identity. Under the Tokugawa shogunate, peace reigned. The country closed its gates to the outside world. Foreigners were barred. Trade was strictly controlled. For over 200 years, the policy of Sakoku kept Japan isolated, untouched by the revolutions and gunpowder empires rising beyond its shores. Samurai became administrators, teachers, guardians of order. Their privileges set them apart. Stipends from their lords, the right to bear arms, the respect of every other class. But isolation came at a price. While Europe and America built ironclads and rifled muskets, Japan's warriors drilled with swords and spears. The world outside was changing fast, and inside, the samurai's way of life seemed unshakable. Then, in 1853, black smoke appeared on the horizon. 4 American warships under Commodore Perry forced their way into Edo Bay. Their cannons dwarfed anything Japan could muster. The message was simple: open your doors, or be opened by force. The samurai, who had ruled unchallenged for generations, now faced a world where courage and tradition met iron and steam. The old order stood on the edge of a blade. Imperial edicts swept through Japan with the force of a tidal wave. In 1868, the Meiji Restoration stripped power from the old shogunate and placed it in the hands of the young emperor. The new government moved quickly. Ancient domains were abolished. Samurai lost their right to rule, their authority replaced by prefectures and bureaucrats loyal to Tokyo. The stipends, hereditary payments that had sustained samurai families for generations, were cut in 1873. For many, the loss was sudden and absolute. Swords and armor pawned for rice. Proud warriors forced to take up farming, shopkeeping, or factory work. Honor traded for survival. But the deepest blow came in 1876. A single law, written in crisp, modern script, banned the public wearing of swords. The katana, once the badge of rank and soul of the warrior, was now illegal on the streets. Samurai were told to abandon the symbol that set them apart. In a single stroke, 7 centuries of privilege vanished. The streets of Kagoshima, Edo, and Kyoto filled with former samurai stripped of their status, their hair shorn, their swords locked away. Some tried to adapt, but thousands could not. Resentment simmered, especially in Satsuma, where the old ways still held sway. The laws did not just erase a class, they erased an identity. By 1876, the samurai were ghosts in their own country, watching as Japan rushed headlong into a future that had no place for them. The country stood on the edge of rebellion. Saigō Takamori sat in quiet resignation, far from the court he had helped build. In Kagoshima, his days passed among students, young men most born to samurai families, all restless, all angry. They trained with wooden swords, recited the classics, and clung to a way of life that the world had already left behind. Saigō's schools became a refuge for the disinherited, a place to mourn lost honor and imagine a return to order. But even here, peace was brittle. Rumors swirled of government spies and assassination plots. Then, on January 30th, 1877, an imperial warship appeared in Kagoshima's harbor. Soldiers moved swiftly, hauling crates of munitions out of the city's arsenal. No warning, no explanation. The message was clear. The government no longer trusted Satsuma. For the students, this was the final insult. That night, 50 young men from Saigō's academy stormed the Samuda arsenal. They seized rifles, ammunition, and gunpowder. The city erupted. In the days that followed, over 1,000 students raided naval yards and armories, gathering weapons as if the old world could be rebuilt by force of will alone. Saigō, hearing of the raids, was furious at first. He had not ordered rebellion, but his anger faded into grim acceptance. Letters from this time hint at a man torn between loyalty to his country and loyalty to his followers. He could not abandon those who looked to him for purpose. Pressed by students and elders alike, Saigō stepped forward, not as a conspirator, but as a leader who refused to let his people march alone. The die was cast. A private protest became an army on the move. The last rebellion of the samurai had begun. 40,000 marched north, banners raised, blades gleaming. The hope of Satsuma swept toward Kumamoto, but hope alone could not break stone walls and modern guns. Kumamoto Castle stood defiant, 4,400 conscripts and police behind thick ramparts, holding fast through sleet and hunger. For 52 days, the rebels circled, cutting supply lines, waiting for surrender. Inside, defenders rationed rice, patched wounds, and fired back with rifles that never seemed to run dry. The government moved with a speed the old world had never seen. Trains and steamships delivered reinforcements and shells in days, not weeks. Fresh troops poured in, supplies stacked high, artillery uncrated and aimed. The samurai watched as the future arrived by rail. For every bullet they fired, the imperial army answered with thousands. Ammunition flowed, 322,000 rounds a day, a river of lead and powder. The siege broke. The rebels, battered and starving, pulled back. Each retreat cost men, weapons, and hope. By summer, the march south turned desperate. Skirmishes bled the columns dry. Modern rifles outpaced swords at every turn. Artillery thundered from distant hills. The samurai, once 40,000 strong, dwindled to 3,000. Their powder ran low. Their cannon fell silent. Muskets jammed. Swords chipped. Boots wore through. Every mile, another name lost to mud, disease, or rifle fire. The imperial army pressed on, relentless, organized, unyielding. The old ways could not match the machinery of a new age. By August, the rebels staggered toward Shiroyama, battered and outnumbered, the end in sight. The march had become a slow surrender to history. At 4 in the morning, the hills above Kagoshima shook. Imperial guns opened fire, land batteries and warships together, their barrels trained on the slopes of Shiroyama. For hours, the sky flashed and the ground trembled. Shells tore through trenches, splintered trees, shattered stone. The air filled with smoke, earth, and the thunder of artillery. Below, 30,000 soldiers waited, bayonets fixed, rifles ready, orders clear. Above, no more than 500 samurai crouched in darkness, pressed flat in shallow ditches, hands on sword hilts. Surrender had been demanded. Silence was the answer. 4 hours passed. The old code held. No flag, no plea, no sign of fear. As dawn crept over the city, the bombardment slowed. The world seemed to hold its breath. The moment before steel met fire had come. The last warriors of an ancient age waited for the order to rise. At 8 o'clock, the last order was given. Around 400 samurai rose from the battered trenches of Shiroyama. They drew their swords, steel honed for centuries, blades that once ruled a nation. Down the slope they charged, silent at first, then voices rising in a final cry. Below, 30,000 imperial soldiers waited. Rifles leveled, Gatling guns spun up. The volley began. Bullets swept the hillside, cutting through men and memory. Swords met gunfire. The old world vanished in the smoke. Saigō Takamori, struck by rifle shots, staggered and fell. Wounded, he was carried by his closest companion, Beppu Shinsuke, to a quiet spot behind the lines. There, Saigō opened his own belly in the ritual of seppuku. Beppu finished the act, then rose and charged alone, cut down before he reached the enemy. By 9 o'clock, the hillside was still. 500 had charged. None survived. The rebellion's death toll was over 7,000 samurai and 6,000 imperial troops, a measure not just of a battle, but of the end of an age. Modern Japan stands on the ashes of old codes and broken swords. Yet honor, discipline, and sacrifice endure, reshaped, not erased. Progress demands a cost. The lesson of Shiroyama is clear. Even as the future marches on, the soul of a nation remembers. For more stories of courage, subscribe below.